The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the executive suite as Marcus Thornfield stared at the termination letter on his mahogany desk. His fingers, once capable of commanding boardrooms and sealing million-dollar deals, now trembled slightly as they gripped the document that would end Carlos Mendoza's employment. The accident 6 months ago hadn't just stolen his ability to walk, it had hardened something deep inside his chest, turning compassion into cold calculation. Marcus had built Thornfield Industries from nothing, clawing his way from the one-room startup to a Fortune 500 empire. But the car crash that left him wheelchair-bound had changed everything. Physical therapy was expensive, medical bills were mounting. The board was circling like vultures, questioning every decision, every expenditure. In this new reality, kindness was a luxury he could no longer afford. Carlos Mendoza had worked as the night janitor for 3 years, arriving after the executives went home, quietly maintaining the pristine offices that housed dreams and ambitions. He was invisible to most, just another pair of hands that emptied trash cans and mopped floors. But budget cuts demanded sacrifices, and Marcus had identified him as expendable. The intercom buzzed. "Mr. Thornfield, Carlos is here," his assistant announced. "Send him in." Carlos entered hesitantly, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. At 52, he carried himself with quiet dignity. Despite his humble position, his uniform was impeccably clean, pressed with the same care he brought to every surface he touched in this building. "You wanted to see me, sir?" Marcus didn't look up from the papers. "Carlos, I'll be direct. We're restructuring the maintenance department. Your position is being eliminated, effective immediately." He slid the termination letter across the desk. "Security will escort you out. You have 15 minutes to clear your locker." The words hung in the air like poison. Carlos's face crumpled for just a moment before he steadied himself. "Mr. Thornfield, please." "My wife, she's been sick." "The insurance, the treatment, sir. I just need a little more time." "This isn't personal, Carlos. It's business." Marcus's voice was ice. "The decision is final." Carlos nodded slowly, accepting the letter with shaking hands. As he turned to leave, the office door opened unexpectedly. A small figure burst in, a girl no more than 8 years old, with wild curls and bright eyes that seemed to hold more wisdom than her years should allow. "Daddy!" she called, rushing toward Carlos with arms outstretched. Marcus watched, stunned, as Carlos scooped up the child, his entire demeanor transforming. The defeated man disappeared, replaced by a father whose love radiated from every fiber of his being. "Mija, what are you doing here?" Carlos whispered, kissing the top of her head. "Mama sent me to walk with you to the bus stop. She's feeling better today. The new medicine is working." The little girl beamed up at her father, then noticed Marcus for the first time. Her expression grew serious as she studied his wheelchair, his rigid posture, the invisible weight he carried. "Daddy, who is the sad man?" Carlos's face flushed with embarrassment. "This is Mr. Thornfield, Mija. He's my boss. We need to go now." But the girl stepped forward, approaching Marcus with the fearless curiosity that only children possess. "You look very sad, Mr. Thornfield. Like you're carrying something heavy inside." Marcus felt something crack in his chest. "I'm fine, little girl. You should go with your father." She tilted her head, studying him with those impossibly wise eyes. Then, without warning, she reached out and placed her small hand on his arm. The touch was gentle, warm, and completely unexpected. "My daddy says that when people are mean, it's usually because they're hurting inside." "Are you hurting inside, Mr. Thornfield?" The question hit Marcus like a physical blow. In 6 months, no one had asked him about his pain. The board wanted profits. The doctors wanted compliance with therapy. His ex-wife wanted alimony. But this child, this stranger's daughter, had seen through to the wound he'd been hiding behind walls of anger and bitterness. Marcus's voice caught. He looked at Carlos, who was watching the exchange with growing concern, ready to pull his daughter away if necessary. But there was something else in the janitor's eyes, so understanding, maybe even pity. The girl leaned closer, lowering her voice to a whisper that somehow felt more powerful than any boardroom presentation Marcus had ever given. "I will heal you," she said simply. "Not your legs, so I'm not magic like that, but the hurt inside. My daddy taught me that the best medicine is being kind to people, even when they're not kind back, especially then." Tears Marcus hadn't allowed himself to shed in months suddenly threatened to spill over. He looked at Carlos, or really looked at Hema, and saw not just a man about to lose his job, but a father who had raised a daughter capable of such profound compassion while facing his own struggles. This man, whom Marcus had dismissed as expendable, had given the world something precious. "Your daughter," Marcus managed to say, his voice rough with emotion. Carlos's protective stance softened slightly. "She's everything good in this world, sir. Sometimes I wonder what I did to deserve her." Marcus stared at the termination letter, then slowly tore it in half. "Carlos, I need to ask you something. How would you feel about a promotion? We need someone to head our new community outreach program. Someone who understands what it means to serve others, to find dignity in honest work." Carlos's eyes widened in disbelief. "Sir, I don't understand. Your daughter just reminded me of something I'd forgotten. Success isn't just about profit margins and quarterly reports. It's about the people we lift up along the way." Marcus looked at the little girl, who was smiling as if she'd known this moment would come all along. "She's right. Kindness is the best medicine. And I think I've been sick for a very long time." 3 months later, Marcus watched from his office window as Carlos led a group of inner-city kids through the building's lobby, showing them that dreams could live in places they'd never imagined reaching. The community program had become one of Thornfield Industries' most successful initiatives, not just in terms of public relations, but in actual lives changed. On Marcus's desk sat a drawing the little girl had made, 2 stick figures, one in a wheelchair, both smiling under a bright yellow sun. At the bottom, in careful crayon letters, were the words, "Thank you for letting my daddy help heal the world." The rain had stopped weeks ago, but Marcus only now noticed the sunshine streaming through his windows. Sometimes healing comes not from medicine or therapy, but from the unexpected wisdom of a child who sees straight to the heart of what matters most. In learning to heal others, Marcus had finally begun to heal himself.